Welcome back to school. I know you guys are probably thrilled about being back and trying to get something different than what's been going on these past 6 months. And so, no better way to continue to move forward than get your mind off of everything else and focus it on school, and in particular in this class, English. So, I just wanted to welcome you guys back. I am excited and thrilled to be working with each of you guys this semester. It's pretty chill. I love what I do. And so I'm excited about sharing and hearing from you guys, and just really hopefully to encourage you guys to continue to move forward as you are trying to fulfill your dreams. And I want to do everything that I can do to help facilitate that. So today I really wanted to give you an introduction and kind of go over a syllabus. I did not want to take up our Zoom time or our classroom meetings in order to do that, just because it's so limited. And so I figure I could make one video and share them to everyone, so you guys not only would be able to watch it at your leisure, kind of, because you still need to watch it this week, but also if you need to go back and review to hear what I've said, you have that as a resource. And that is one of the cool things about taping lectures and putting them on, is that you do have that resource to go back, stop, pause, and so that's pretty exciting. I did want to address the format of this class. I know it is a hybrid class. In a traditional hybrid class, you would be on campus in seat, and at least one session per week. And everything else is online. I was looking at my schedule, and some of you guys who have me for 2 classes, you will see that there's like a 1-minute turnaround time, and that concerned me greatly, mainly because it would hit instruction time. It would be very disruptive for people coming and going, and even just to have a break to go to the restroom and whatnot. So I felt that to maximize your time, that doing the online hybrid version would be more successful. The other piece of that is because we are in uncertain times and we don't know if even though we start in seat, are we going to stay there? In this particular format, regardless of what happens, we don't stop, because we've already started the way that we're going to end, and that's with our weekly Zoom meetings and then the online coursework and whatnot. So that should give you comfort that you're not going to be railroaded, or just your world's going to fall apart like it did at the end of last semester, especially for you guys who were seniors in high school. I know that was extremely difficult. So this way, how you begin this semester will be how you end the semester. And there's comfort in that, and confidence in that. So let's go ahead and jump on in. In your Canvas, obviously with this type of format, Canvas is instrumental. You have to go onto Canvas all the time. That is how I communicate with you guys. All of your assignments will be posted through Canvas. Email, if you need to email me, and any type of communication, everything. Canvas is the center point of our class. And so really play around with it. You can't break it. And just really see what is available to you. So in Canvas, I have my little welcome screen, Bob. The second one is the syllabus. You need to go into that, because that is where I have loaded in your class syllabus, and it has all the information that you will need for this semester. And so that's what we're going to go through now. I want to highlight some areas. It is still your responsibility to go through, read, and make sure that you understand not only what I require, but what is required of you, and to make sure that you are successful. I want you all to succeed. What I find with students that struggle in my class is they don't understand, or they didn't take the time to understand what their requirements are. For those of you who are coming out of high school, it is a lot different. I don't accept late work. That is a standard college and life skill and requirement. So time management becomes so instrumental during this time, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so at the top gives my name, my email. Each of you have actually 2 ways to communicate with me. One would be through Canvas, and the other will be through your Statesman, through your email, where it's usually like your first initial, last name, some numbers, but at rbc.edu. And so you have 2 ways to communicate with me. The main takeaway from that, do not email me with a personal email. I am not allowed, according to our guidelines, to accept email from a non-RBC email. So please make sure that if you are emailing me, utilize your RBC email, or just go through Canvas, which actually most students will do anyway. But if you need to, please use my RBC, and you need to use your RBC. Another piece of that, in your where it says regarding, you need to put your name, and you need to put what class session that you are in, because I teach 6 classes, and that will help me to know what class that you are referring to. So please make sure that you're including your name and your class in that the title section of what your email is about, or that regarding session. So that would be very helpful. Otherwise, I really don't know. Each class depends on how they're moving. Sometimes, a lot of times we're together, but there'll be times where, we could be doing something else, and it just helps for me to know what was going on in that particular class. So please make sure that you do that. Course description you can read. There is a required textbook. Now, for my 100 classes, I have created the content and the textbook for that class, and I am loading that into your modules every week, what I want you to cover. It is not a hardback that you can purchase, but it is copyrighted. It is mine, so please do not copyright and give it to other people, because that's breaking the law. For my English 101 classes, this is your textbook. How to write anything. That information with the ISBN number is in the syllabus. If you're going to get it through Amazon, which is, I tend to find is a little bit cheaper, even though I know that our bookstore is now through Barnes & Noble, which I love, but you have some options. So I know on Amazon they do give you those options for used books, and that's fine. This is the most current edition, so I'm not sure how many used books you're going to find, but that probably would be an option. You would also, there may be an option where you can just do a download. You can rent books through Amazon, so you do not actually have to purchase. So you just have some different options to do that. You will need your textbook when class starts, so you need to make sure that you get that as soon as possible. I utilize it throughout the semester. So, and that is both of those formats. Please make sure that you're reading your books. Okay, so already in Canvas, the syllabus, there's a button for syllabus. That's where you're going to find all this information. In fact, if you wanted to pull that up while you're watching this video and kind of go along with me, that would be perfect. Then there's another one, it's announcements on Canvas. That is extremely important. When I am grading work, and I'm going to go into this a little bit more detail later, if I'm finding common errors, things to be mindful of, I'm going to put that in the announcements. Now, there is a feature with Canvas that you can link it to your cell phone, and so anytime something is posted, it will actually notify you. I would encourage you to do that. If there's something that's going on, where the college is communicating with me and I need to get it out to you guys, you need to make sure that you're reading your announcements thoroughly to make sure. A lot of especially with online, I do a lot of announcements, and I usually will send them out Sunday night just to kind of give us a little snapshot of what's going on in the week, or things to be mindful of in the assignments. If I'm finding where I'm getting some questions and I need to clarify something more, I'm going to put that in the announcement. So please make sure that you're using that resource. It is extremely important, and those announcements are there throughout the entire semester. So if you need to go back and look at something, then you're able to do that. Okay, and there's a title that goes on, so if you're trying to look for something specific, that you'll be able to do that. The next one is the modules that you'll see. The modules is your weekly work. I put everything that will be that's going to be required, from what chapters we're going to read, if you have any assessments, discussion boards, anything like that will be in there. You can actually access your weekly quizzes, which are coming from lecture and textbook, by clicking on the link in the module. It'll take you right to it. Same thing with the discussion boards. So everything that's in there. So that is, again, should be comforting to you, because you can go in the module and I can say, oh, I clicked off this. You need to go there. Do not just go under quizzes. Do not go under discussion boards, even though it is listed there, to ensure that you have completed everything that you need. Go to the modules because everything will be listed there. And if you have any questions, always shoot me an email or something. If you need to talk with me, shoot me an email. A lot of times I can answer it over email, but if I feel like we need to chat, then we can set up a Zoom meeting. Okay, so modules is extremely important. Always go to your modules to find out what your information is. Kind of going down on your written paper requirements. I require MLA. When I shift into 102 in the spring semester, I do APA. Those are the two most common formats, academic formats that we have, even though Chicago and Tribune are really rearing their head in business classes and publishing and history and things of that nature. But MLA and APA are pretty closely related, but it's still getting you in the habits of using in-text citations, creating works cited or reference pages and things of that nature. So there's still a lot of value in those. I will go into that when we start our classes. Let me see, you're in MLA and APA and even in Chicago, there's a standard Times New Roman 12 double space. And I will have a video on how to set your papers up in MLA and APA in 102. Please look at those videos. If you are not familiar with those formats, or if you've not set them up manually, which to me, you want to learn how to do it on your own without using any of those websites that will format it for you, just in case something happens. It's always comforting to know that you can do it manually. And honestly, it doesn't take any time at all. Once you get in the habit of it, it's not a problem. The reason I'm kind of talking about this is not only am I going to be grading your actual writing, I'm grading your format as well. Are you following instructions? Are you able to follow instructions? If I edit you and say this is not correct, are you correcting it on future assignments? Because if you are habitually where you are not correcting what you are being edited on, it actually will affect your grade farther down the road and more stringently down the road. So please make sure that you understand that, and that when you are receiving work that has been graded, go back, look at what I've edited you on, because you will know why you've had point reductions on work by going back to your comments and to the edits within the paper. Grading scale, we're on a 10-point scale. I do want you to know, though, for an F, it is 64, not 60. So a 64 and below is an F in my class. Now, for my 100, for students who are taking 100 and 101 simultaneously, you have to pass both sections. If you fail one section, you fail both. And so you really want to be careful with that and respecting your due dates and making sure that you have an acceptable grade and average throughout the class. You can go into grades, and I have that there, or your grade book. You will know where you are at all times. You will know when I've graded something, what's still out to be graded. And on a side note with that, if it's out to be graded, it will not have the actual number there. If it doesn't, that means that I have to look at something and I'm actually having to put that final grade. But a lot of my quizzes, I try to make them as soon as you take the assessment that it actually grades it, and you'll know what you made immediately. With that, you only have one shot on each assessment. So please make sure that you are preparing adequately, reading, attending class, doing your homework, because it will really help you on those scores. You will have weekly quizzes. You will have weekly assignments. You will have papers. Every assignment is important. Zeros are extremely hard to bring up, but those things that you have control over, like doing your homework and discussion boards and quizzes, that actually can help your grades if you, for like larger tests or papers, if you didn't make a grade that you were particularly happy with, it really can help sponge those grades out. So that's why you really want to respect each one of those. They have learning outcomes of what the class is about. You can go ahead and read through that. Kind of want to talk really about what the focus of 101 is, and 102 for that matter. You will notice it is called English Composition and Rhetoric. And especially this time in our history more than ever, rhetoric, which is what we're saying, intent behind what we're saying, becomes extremely important. But the other piece of that is that a lot of our communication is in writing. And we want to make sure that you are writing in a manner that is received well, that gains you respect, and that they can understand where you're coming from. So everything that we're doing really at its core is communication, either written or verbal. And if you write well, it does transition into how you are organizing and how you are speaking and communicating. So all of that really does feed in together. Critical thinking. English is a lot of critical thinking, the things that you're researching, that you're analyzing. A huge pet peeve of mine is to have me regurgitate it back to myself. I want to know what you think based on your research. I want to know your findings. And so your papers, they are subjective in nature, where you are able to share that, but it has to be grounded in solid research with credible resources and things of that nature. So critical thinking is a big part of what we do, and not just in English, but with every one of your college classes. How are you responding to the material that you have read? Response is enormous, and you're going to see that in this class, not just with the analysis, but also with your discussion boards. Sometimes I will put a question out there that I want you to respond to, and then you're going to read other people's responses and respond to those responses. So and you need to know what that is. That is a wonderful opportunity for one to get to know one another, but to really be exposed to different perspectives and different ideas, and to really learn how to engage in a respectful conversation. We have a lot of volatile rhetoric and this dynamic that we are living through right now, and no one can listen through the noise. And if you're yelling, if you're insulting someone, your conversation ends. And so these opportunities that I'm giving you are really opportunities for you to learn how to respectfully communicate with someone. You perhaps can learn a different perspective, or you can be sharing your perspective and enlightening someone else. But again, it has to be in a respectful manner if you want anyone to even listen to what you have to say. And so that is really a lot of what we're doing here. Research. We have a lot of rhetoric, and a lot of it is not accurate. I watch the news. They're spinning it based off their personal ideologies. It doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And so research now more than ever is vital. Where can you go to get the answers that you need so you can form an educated opinion, or you can vote correctly, or engaging in those conversations? Again, how as an adult are you able to move forward with accurate information rather than something that someone used an ellipsis on, or they did a sound bite on, or they sound great, but yet their past records and history really don't support what it is. Now you're going to notice that I'm not getting political because it's not my job to do that. And I feel like it happens all over the place. My job is not to tell you what to think, regardless of what a lot of people say about professors and indoctrination and blah, blah, blah. That is not, in fact, I really get upset about that. It's about you taking your personal beliefs, your personal research, and grounding an idea of what you think and how you're responding to things. But it's difficult to make a response if you have your personal ideology, but you don't have the facts. And where do you go get the facts? And that's really the big question mark in society. Where do I go? I thought I could go to the news. I thought I could read the newspaper. Well, unfortunately, that's not always the case now. So it's through research and learning how to research and finding credible resources and having those conversations of what does that look like in order for you to form your personal ideology as you're continuing to move forward. Assignment submission, like I stated earlier, it will be through Canvas. Now, as far as how you are submitting, a lot of assignments, you're going to be doing it in a Word document. You need to have Word, where you actually have the program, not Word Online. because Word Online, the formatting is different. It doesn't give you all the resources that you need. It doesn't have managed sources where it will actually format your bibliographies for you. There's just a lot of things. It takes the running header, cuts it in half. Actually, you're typing more. The page length is different than it would be in a regular Word document. And the thing is that even if you say, hey, I used Word Online, if half of your running header is missing, I'm going to count off points because your finished product needs to be a finished product and formatted correctly. So please do yourself a favor. I know with colleges and especially being a college student, a lot of times they have discounts, or some colleges actually give them for free. I'm not really sure where Richard Bland and William & Mary stand on that, but helping you to get those resources that you need. Other resources you need to actually, you're listening to me now. I hope you're listening to me on a computer because you're going to need it, and you need to have video capability because you will be doing Zoom meetings. And it needs to have camera capability where I need to see your face, not just a blank screen with your name on it or a cute little teddy bear or kitten. I actually need to see you in order to give you credit for being in the class, and also seeing that you're engaged. Again, we're going to talk about that a little bit more, about really what that looks like. So, but you do need to, it's very important, especially with how this class is being delivered, or these classes are being delivered. Attendance is extremely important. And that means, now, even though we do have the 1 day a week Zoom, but when your assignments are due, those are also days where I'm taking attendance. So if you do not turn in an assignment, I'm giving you an absence. If you miss so many, and I'm not going to get into it, well, they have like 60% of the classes. I can withdraw you without communicating with you. And not just me, any professor. Because if you've missed that much, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to even make up that work. But many professors, including myself, we don't accept late work. And if you miss 6 classes, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to even pull that out. And I hope that you guys are striving to do the best that you can. A D really is not acceptable. A D will not transfer to other colleges. You need to make a C in 101 and 102 if you want them to transfer to wherever you're going. So that really, put a sign up, do a reminder to yourself. Do not do just the least minimum. In high school, you could get a D, they'll push you to the next course. That is not the case in college. You have to have a C in order for it to be transferable. And if it is a class that's going into your major, it actually could be higher where they need a B or something like that. I know in my graduate classes, I couldn't make less than a B in some of my classes, or I would have to retake them. So again, not just with my class, but all of your classes, please read your syllabus closely. Find out what your requirements are. And you want to start strong, and you want to be consistent to set yourself up for success on that. Zoom classroom procedures, please read through that. And again, just kind of giving you some insight, like I said, how they had set up my schedule, with especially with the 101s and the 100 and the 101s backing up to one another. I know one day, I can't remember which one, but all 3 of my classes are a 1-minute turnaround. And then the other day, 2 of my classes, it's a 1-minute turnaround. One, be on time, but I have to end on time. I teach for the entire session. Okay. And so you need to be present to do that. Now, I do understand that, especially if you are in 2 of my classes back to back, that can be, that's 2 hours. Make sure that you go to the bathroom before you go to class, and make sure that you have your coffee or whatever it is that you're needing in order to do that. You really don't want to miss it. And with that being said, the 100 and the 101, if you're in back-to-back, they're not the same links. So that means that you're going to have to come back. You're going to have to exit out and come back in. With Zoom, I know if you leave early. I would know if you left early anyway, even in a regular class. So just be very careful with that. Even though we're virtual, if you're coming in late, it really is distracting because everybody can see everyone. It's not like you can sneak in the back and sit down where people wouldn't know. In a Zoom format, if you have, many of you have done virtual already, you know that everyone knows. that you've entered. With that being said, especially with Zoom and having a camera and knowing that everyone can see you, please be mindful of what you're doing. We can see you. I had a student get up and put deodorant on in the middle of class one day. And I'm like, did you know we're sitting here? We all can see you. So please make sure that you have placed yourself in an environment that that's conducive to, you know, a classroom setting. You're sitting at a desk or whatever. I would encourage you to be sitting somewhere, either at a table or, you know, if you have a desk set up in your room or wherever that is, if it's a study room, if you're on campus, where you can actually sit up, be able to write, take notes at the same time. I hesitate on students doing class in their bed because you don't have a stable surface, stuff is moving around. Again, everyone can see if your camera's jumping up and down and that kind of thing. So make sure that you are in an environment and in a situation that's going to set you up for success, where you're not having to fumble for things where you could miss information. And it is distracting, and even more so because if they see a lot of, you know, if one student, there's a lot going on, everyone's going to start looking at that student. Also, another thing, especially with distractions, please make sure that when you come into the class, one, your video is on, but your audio is muted. Mainly because the audio picks up so many things and it can be distracting if there's a humming or something of that nature. We're still going to have classroom discussions. I'm still going to ask questions. And when I ask you a question or we have discussion, you would just hit the unmute and then we'll do it that way. But when you come in, everyone needs to be muted and have their camera on. Please make sure that you have all of your resources with you when you enter into the Zoom class. Your book, your papers. For those of you who are in my 100 class, there's going to be some worksheets with grammar and things of that nature that we're going to be working through. You need to have that in front of you because I am using class time to go over it. And so if you have any questions, if you got something wrong, then we can clarify it at that time, but it's very difficult if you don't have it. With that being said, for those of you who are in my 100 class and actually in my 101, there are going to be times where you are going to need to write something out or do an editing or something of that nature, especially in my 100. You need to have scanning capabilities because you're still turning that homework in. So you can scan it and then you will upload it into your Canvas and assignment for me to look at because I'm taking homework assignments or grades off of that. That is to ensure that you do your homework. If you don't do your homework and I go over and I just give you the answers, honestly, you've learned nothing. It is through those errors and through the trial and error of doing your homework that honestly you learn more. And so it's so important for you to do that. Now, like due dates. If it is something that I'm covering in class, please pay attention because at the end of the assignment, it actually tells you when the assignment is due. Typically for discussion boards, your first thread is Wednesday night, 11:59. Any quizzes or major papers and things of that nature will be Sunday evening at 11:59. But if it's something that I'm going over in class, it will be due before class starts. If it is not there before class starts, then you have a 0 for that assignment. So pay really close attention to those due dates and times to make sure that you turned it in on time. You cannot turn in homework after the fact because it's pointless. I've already gone over it. I think, and I taught high school and I knew some of those teachers that would accept work, at the end of the quarter, end of the semester. Why? It was pointless. The whole purpose of homework is to practice the skills that I am going to be requiring in your papers where it really counts. I need you to be real time with everything, okay? Attendance, we've talked about. Just kind of read through that. Late work policies. Like I said, respect your due dates. That's actually a life skill. In the real world, if you don't meet your deadlines, you get fired. So why would I want to promote a behavior that is actually going to hurt you in the long run? And that's really enabling someone. And I'm not an enabler. I want to get you in good habits now. So as you are continuing to move on to your 4-year degree or graduate degrees and into your professions or whatever that looks like, that you are establishing responsible, successful behaviors. And that's really instrumental to that. Okay. And some of you guys, it's going to be a tough one. The first week, we're actually going to talk about study habits and how to organize our time. I've been teaching for a long time, and especially with my college students, one of the things that has hurt them the most is time management. If you are coming from a high school environment where you didn't have any homework ever, or if you wrote a paper and you basically got credit because you blessed them with your writing, that really did not do you any favors. I grade everything. You don't just get a check mark because you completed it. In fact, for the first time last semester, I actually had to give zeros because people would turn in a paper that had nothing to do with what I was asking. I can't grade that because I'm looking for specific skills. So again, that's on you. Read your instructions, respect your due dates, and respect the guidelines for each one of those assignments, okay? So I do not accept late work. The way that this course is designed and that you are able to submit assignments, there's really no excuse for late work, ever. Manage your time. Do not wait to the last minute. Because that Murphy's Law is that if something's going to happen, it will. And if you're emailing me at 11:50 on the night that an assignment is due, and then you're like, well, I've had computer issues and I've heard nothing from you, I'm sorry. Work the problem. And so that could be also something that some of you guys, it's always good practice. What's plan B? If my computer is maybe it's getting a little wonky, or I live in a place that the internet could be in and out, manage accordingly. Is there a Starbucks that you could go to that has internet that you could go ahead and post assignments? Local libraries, library on campus, whatever that looks like for you. Always have a plan B. And I have even had that where I was typing a paper and something glitched in it, and I was almost done, and it erased the entire thing. And I was coming down to the wire. So there's certain things that I started doing, like emailing myself halfway through a research paper what the paper was, just in case something happened, or at the end of, when I finished working, I would always email that to myself because I knew I could access email anywhere. So those are just some of the things that I would have in place. Some of you guys, the little memory drives that you could use, whatever that looks like. You need to have a plan B, and you should always plan for the unexpected. It's better to have those things in place and not need them to something happening, and it's critical, and there's really nothing that I can do at that point, okay? So please make sure that you have those things in place. Online email etiquette. Okay, and this is even for discussion board etiquette as well. Anything that we're doing that's writing, and I probably should amend that in the syllabus so you're aware of that. Respect. You want to be respected, then you need to extend respect to those that are around you. You also have to realize that we're all individuals. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different things that we believe in, and guess what? That's okay. That's what makes us unique. We can learn from one another. What I will not tolerate is abusive language, any type of curse words. There is absolutely no point or substance to foul language, insulting someone, like calling them, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Okay, well, it may be dumb for you, but it doesn't make them dumb. It just could be that you didn't know any better. Do you know what I'm saying? So we need to be at a place where not only are we sharing our thoughts, but we need to be able to listen and receive what someone else has said. Academia is about continuing the conversation. If you end it by insulting someone, then you failed. If someone does not want to listen to what you have to say because you've insulted them, you failed in your form of communication. You got absolutely nowhere. And we need to change some of those really bad habits. And so it's going to be purposeful. Read it. Now, also, with that being said, I am not the fluffiest of individuals. I am a person who pretty much says it how it is. Because of that, I have to edit what I say, because I can say something and you can see me and you can tell, okay, she's just one of those, I'm sarcastic. I can't help it. And I talk in that manner, and you can see my heart. You can see my facial expressions. You can tell that I'm not saying something in an attacking manner. However, if I took that same thing that I had said and I take my visual out of it and it's just on words, I can tell you that sometimes it's not pretty and it can be seen as attacking. And so, especially if you have the personality type that I have, where I'm just very direct, we have to work harder and we have to be purposeful with what we're saying, because it can be taken in a different manner. And to come back and say, oh, I was just kidding, oh, I meant it this way, you don't have a do-over. People will read that and they'll say, oh, you're both, what is it, you're backpedaling? I hate that, by the way. But that's what it really seems like. And so that's why if you have more of a direct personality, it becomes such a conscious, I'd love to tell you that it becomes a habit. The habit is being conscious of it. And we just have to do that. Okay. So just be very careful with that. No profanity. Oh, typing in all caps. That's yelling. Please don't yell at me. I'm not yelling at you. There's no need, because we're having conversation, right? So please be very careful with that. No emojis. I know they're happy. I love emojis. When I text, I love smiley faces and the winky one. I love it. But it's really not appropriate, because even the discussion boards, even though it's more of that conversational kind of thing, it's not we're still trying to practice academic writing. And so really those things have no place. That and the acronyms, the LOLs. I know there's a lot more. For people my generation, we don't even know all of them. So you can't make that's under making assumptions, which is a big no anyway in academic writing. So you don't put any abbreviations or anything like that. Okay. So just kind of keep it clean. And again, this is one of the many opportunities that you have in order to practice writing in a respectful manner, in an academic and professional manner. Make sure that your information is on topic, especially with discussion boards. Discussion boards, I do not just ask one question. More often than not, I'm going to ask multiple things, which means I'm looking for you to address everything that I'm asking for. So when I'm reading your initial thread, I don't just give you a check mark because you turned it in. I'm looking for specific things. And if you don't address it, I can't give you full credit. Okay? So what that means is write out your discussion board, go back to the instructions, read them again, and make sure that you've included everything that I've asked you to do. Okay? And that will help you tremendously, not just in discussion boards, but even the assignments. I always have students that will leave out things. Before any time that before you hit that submit button, please go back and read your instructions and make sure that you have encompassed everything that I am looking for. And also, it takes a lot of stress off you. You're basically answering the questions. So if you're doing that, you're going to be okay. Even with emails, please stay on topic of what it is that you're looking at. Do not come across attacking me. Will you? All right, for one, would you like me to talk to you that way? No. But I can tell you as a human, if you come at me in an attacking manner, and especially because I'm the teacher and I'm basically your boss, if you talk to a boss in that manner, you probably will not be employed for very long. So some of this, especially if you're sending emails, is a great opportunity for you to learn how to speak to authority in a respectful manner. You really need to practice those skills. Because one, even though I will get to know you and we can have some fun. And my youngest sister owns her own business, and she sent me like these hilarious things that people actually do and trying to apply for jobs and whatnot. But even she would say, her employees would come in and they act like they're her best friend. Well, she's not their friend. She's their boss. And so with that, the verbiage that you use with authority is going to be different than the verbiage that you would use with your friends. Again, those are practice skills, and you guys are really at that first step of adulthood where you're learning those skills that are going to make you successful later on. And respect, respect, respect. Always go back. Was I respectful in this? If you attack someone, well, you didn't put this in, or I didn't see your grade for that. There's always more than one way to words or phrase something. I didn't see the grade. Had you had an opportunity to look at this? But again, if you look at my syllabus, you'll also see that I probably have already answered those questions. Okay. So again, be mindful with what you're saying, how you're saying it. If you want a desired result, I can tell you, if you come at me in an attacking manner and you're insulting me, I'm not going to answer you back. And I can promise you I'm going to remember it. And any professor will remember that. And those times when you want favor to be given to you and grace to be given to you, those times of disrespect, they start bubbling back up and people don't forget. You know, main thing I can tell you is think about if someone's been disrespectful to you. Do you really forget it? You can forgive it. You can move on. But we have a tendency to remember things like that. So never put yourself in a position where someone may not want to give you grace or want to give you favor. You really want that. So that's one of those skills. My oldest daughter, she calls them adulting, but that you really need in your adulting skills is, you know, you really want people to respond to you and you want a favorable result. Okay, well, how would you need to say that in order to gain what you're wanting? Strive for accuracy. When you are doing discussion boards and emails, look at your grammar. Do not give me one sentence that's half a page long. And we're going to talk about grammar, especially in 101. We're going to be more in depth in it. In 100, we're going to be more in depth. 101, we're going to touch on it, but I really only have maybe a week that I can even put into that. But in our 100 class, we're really going to talk about punctuation and the concepts behind it and really practice that so you can really understand the value and the importance of punctuation, spelling, homophones. That's a huge one that people, mess up. Remember that you don't have do-overs in writing. And so you want to make sure that any time that your name is attached to something, that it is the best representation of yourself. So you want to go back and make sure that you've capitalized the correct words, the first letter of a sentence, you've used end marks correctly, and that they're solid sentences that represent you well. Kind of reiterate, discussion boards are not a place to air your political ideologies. And especially going into an election year, we are going to talk about the rhetoric that goes, or the intent behind rhetoric. And I like using politics because, there's just so much food for fodder there. But this is not that time to insult people or, wherever it is that you're coming from. And that goes back to stay on topic. Okay. If I'm asking for something political, you can still air your opinion, but it needs to be respectful. It needs to be grounded in research. It needs to be well thought out. Okay. But we're not going to get in this engaging back and forth. In fact, if I see two students that are engaging in banter back and forth, and especially in a negative manner, you both will get zeros on it. Okay. This is not that place. This is something that you do in the lunchroom or wherever, when you're having coffee. And remember that your writing represents you as an academic. Please practice correct grammar, punctuation, and all communications. Academic honesty, we're going to go in this. Don't cheat. The only person it really hurts is you. But the consequence of plagiarism, and that's really what it hits in our world, by using someone else's work without giving them credit, is more dire on a college level. You could actually get kicked out of college. You can be on college review, which means the possibility of you being able to transfer into another university becomes very difficult. And protect your name. That's really the only thing that you have control over, is how you respond and what you do. Protect it. Protect your integrity. Protect your reputation. In the workforce, if you are found plagiarizing, i.e. stealing, it'll ruin your career. Just don't do it. Plagiarism is really lazy man's game. And I realize that, and your discussion board this week is I'm going to have an introduction where you guys are going to do introductions. So you're going to kind of give me some where your background is. But what I found for a lot of my incoming freshmen is that things that you practiced in high school may not have been good practices, and that's unfortunate. If you were able to copy and paste information from Wikipedia, both of those are huge no-nos, and never give any citation or anything like that, that's unfortunate. But I can tell you, and I am telling you right now, you will receive a 0, and I will have to, because it takes it out of my hands, and then I have to forward it onto my department head and to leadership at Richard Bland. And it's not just for me, this is with any professor. So I cannot stress, and we're going to talk about this more, especially with the week 1. I cannot stress the importance of integrity in work and showing integrity in all that you do. Everything that you do, you have to think, you don't want someone to question what you're saying. You don't want them to, in a manner of, did you really say that, or did you just copy and paste that? Do not start those habits. They are very difficult to overcome. And so it's going to be really purposeful in that. But again, that's why you're in college. That's why you're in our 100 or 101 classes, because we are trying to set you up for success, because your next step is your job and your profession and your dreams, and we want to make that happen for you. Okay. And so some of these are going to be a little bit difficult because you're going to have to be very purposeful with it. But I can tell you the excuse, oh, I didn't know, is not acceptable, unfortunately. So when in doubt, you need to ask. But, like I've always told my students, and I've also taught high school, if you were not physically present and a part of whatever it is that you're writing about, you better have a citation, because you learned it somewhere and you need to give them props. And if you stay with that rule of thumb, you'll be good. Students with disabilities, that if you fall under that and there's accommodations that need to be made, I need to be made aware of that. If I'm not made aware, then there's nothing that I can do. It has to go through the college. It cannot be just an email that you said, hey, I have blah, 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 and expect an accommodation. There is a process to that. And if you fall within that, then you'll probably already know those protocols already. But just keep in mind, if I don't have something that's been sent to me, unfortunately, I'm unable to do anything, because that actually makes me liable. And I could get in trouble. So that's me making sure that I've protected myself. Responding to student work. Okay, I try to get back with you guys. So if it's a homework assignment, let's say for my 100, I give you a grammar sheet, a punctuation, a editing, or whatever. I give completion grades to see how much you've completed, and that's how I get your points. I'm not really grading it for accuracy, because to me, I think that's not fair, unless it's a paper. But if it's a practice, so I'm doing completion grades on that. Those grades go in immediately. Quizzes. I try to make quizzes where you'll have your grade immediately. Where the graded assignment, exception to the rule is your papers. So you will be writing a lot for me, and I edit everything that you say. Everything. And with that, it is very time consuming, because the value of you submitting those papers is to receive feedback so you don't make the same mistakes twice. And with that, it can take some time in order to do that. Now, am I going to catch every single error? No. But I've been doing this a while, and so I can pick up on a lot of stuff. You still have to go back over and edit and make sure, because I've heard that, well, you didn't pick it up the last time. Okay, I speed, but I don't get a ticket all the time. But if I get pulled, I'm going to get a ticket because I did it. Okay, so still be mindful of those things, but especially read those edits that I give you, because that will be instrumental for future projects. Now, what I had touched on earlier is, okay, I have 4 101 classes and I've got quite a few students. So, and that's okay. It's all good, but it does take some time. So, but if I'm seeing certain things, and it doesn't matter if it's just in your class, but if I'm starting to see something as a whole, I'm going to put it in the announcements. I'm going to mention it in our Zoom meetings. And I'm going to preface it by saying, you need to be more mindful of, this is what I'm seeing. If you hear me say that phrase, this is what I'm seeing, then you need to write that down so you don't make that same mistake. Even if you haven't gotten all your edits back, I am still commenting and I am still giving you feedback. But a lot of times I want the whole class to benefit from it. So if you hear that phrase, this is what I'm seeing, I need you guys to be more mindful of this, please write that down and keep that with you to make sure that you go back to it, to make sure that you don't make that error. Contacting the instructor, disputing a grade on an assignment. To human is to err. Okay, to be human, we're going to make errors, and professors are not immune to that either. And a lot of times, I've already seen things in my syllabus that I've got to go back and fine tune. That's the writing process for one. I type faster, or I think faster than I type. Sometimes things get, dropped, or the cursor that likes to hop around the board and then it adds something somewhere and you didn't see it. Stuff happens, okay? In a quiz, I try to go back through and make sure, again, when you're looking at something a lot, sometimes you oversee things. If you have, if you're taking a quiz and you get marked wrong for something and you're like, man, I'm pretty sure I had that right. If you go back to your book and your notes and you're like, I really did have that right, please email me. Please email me. When you email me, you have to tell me what the number was, and you have to give me your reasoning, what the answer was that you put and why you put it, why you answered it that way. If you can direct me to a page number, or in class you stated da-da-da-da. That way you have actually an adulting moment. Number 2 is that you are being proactive, and that's good. People make errors. That's okay. Did you email me in a respectful manner? And did you have it backed up? Did you have, the question, what you answered? Things happen. Okay. And usually, it's through people bringing some things to my attention at times that I'm like, ooh, I clicked on it. Maybe it didn't register or whatever, but I can go ahead and fix that. And then I can give everybody credit back. But you got to be proactive. Okay. You got to communicate effectively on that. If you're reading edits that I've put on your paper, and if you don't agree with it or you don't understand it, email me. That's what I'm here for. If you never read those edits, or if you don't agree but you've never understood my reasoning for it, then there's a learning moment that's been lost. And sometimes, I've had students even on discussion questions, and even if it wasn't what I was looking, but I'm like, wow, I can totally see your perspective and how you received it that way. And I was able to give points back. Do not make assumptions ever in life, ever. It's better to put it out there in a respectful manner than to never say anything. And then you missed an opportunity to gain some points back. And do not make the assumption that someone else is going to do it. You have to be that person. Okay. So make sure that you do that. Okay. So the last part, if you are in my 101 class, which all of you guys are in my 101 class, you will see a pacing out on the last part of my syllabus. I've paced out this entire class. The one thing that I did leave off are I will be adding in discussion boards when I feel that it's necessary. And especially week 1, you're going to have a discussion board, because I want to do introductions. That's a part, especially in an online community. Discussion boards become vital, because that's how you get to know one another, and it really does promote that classroom environment. So there will be discussion boards within that. How they look will be dependent upon what we're talking about that week. Okay, so just be on the lookout at that. But this gives you the bones of what we're covering, what chapters, what sections that we are going to be covering every week. If I feel like we are not ready for an assignment, then I have the right to push that back. I am not in this game to fail anyone. That, in fact, it makes me physically ill. I want you guys to be successful. And part of that is the communication back and forth, seeing where you guys are at. Do I need to add something? And there's times where I've had to divert and do a week on academic formatting that was not even planned. You know what I'm saying? So I am paying attention to what's going on in our classes, and I want you to be successful. So I do reserve the right, if I need to push some things around a little bit, then I have the right to do so. And but I will always communicate that with you, and I'll give you my reasoning as to why, because you deserve that. Okay. Now, so for the 101 class, the pacing, I stick pretty close to it because there's a lot of stuff that we have to accomplish. Again, I'm going by the textbook. You will have weekly quizzes for the most part on the text. There may be a couple weeks, maybe you don't, but for the most part, when we cover a chapter or a section, you're going to have a quiz on it. So make sure that you get that book because I'm pulling stuff right out of it. And also lecture, which means if I say it, it's game. If I spend time on it, you better be very, your little antlers or little radar or whatever should be going off, because if I'm really spending some time on something, I'm expounding on it, you're probably going to see it. Okay. So, and with that, that is also the cool thing about Zoom is that I record every one of our class sessions. So, and when I get the recording back, I actually email it out to all you guys. Does that mean you miss class? No, because I'm still taking attendance for those that show up. But, you know, there's a lot of information that goes into these class sessions. It does give you an opportunity to go back and hear an explanation again. It's a great resource. You've got so many more tools available to you through this whole format. It's actually pretty cool. Okay. So just be really mindful of that. Also know that I will be supplementing with other lectures. I have a lot of students that actually like when I do that because there's more continuity of information. No disruptions or things of that nature. I'm just actually kind of going through and giving explanations. Again, it's a resource. Some of them are very long, and that's okay, but it's on video, so don't wait till the last minute to watch it. You could watch, you know, however long. Right now I'm at 56 minutes. Sorry about that. But, you know, if you need to go back and listen or fast forward or, you know, whatever you need to do, I do this for you. To make sure that I'm covering everything. I do not like to give assessments, especially quizzes, if I have not adequately covered the material. And I have pushed quizzes back in the past if I felt like you were not really prepared for it. And you will see that, or you will learn that if you come to class, you do what I ask you to do, you read your book, you're going to do well. You're going to do well on the quizzes. I had one student one semester, it was halfway through, and she was like, your quizzes cover what you talked about in class all week. Yes, that's the type of person I am. I'm not a big surprise person. You will know everything that's coming down the road. I'm not someone who pulls out obscure print or a sentence somewhere and tests you on it, especially if it wasn't significant to what we were talking about. Okay, I just don't agree with that. My assessments and the things that I give you are actually to reinforce the skills that we're learning in class. So always I am available, and especially through email. I am on email a lot. Please do not make assumptions that I am going to be on it in the late evening, even though sometimes if I do receive an email, I can answer it if I'm up and I happen to see it. And if it's something quick, I can do that, especially weekends. But if I'm working and I see it, I will probably answer you. If I feel like maybe we need to chat, I don't really do office hours per se, just because everybody's got just different schedules, and I think that we can be a lot more flexible with that. So if you do need to speak with me face to face, just shoot me an email. We can set up a Zoom time and meet, and that's perfectly okay as well. Okay. So please make sure that you read your syllabus, get your textbook. My 101 people, like I said, as far as your text, I am putting that content in your modules each week. So when you click on it, it comes up and read it. You know, you can read it. You know, take notes on it. whatever you need to do that. So just be really mindful. But like I said, your modules and that information that's in there, that's going to be driving this. And make sure at the beginning of the week that you always look at that. So I hope that that was helpful, just kind of going over. Please read your syllabus again. If you have any questions or you need clarification, shoot me an email, or I will see you guys in our first day of class. So please be there and ready to go with everything. So I look forward to it. I'm looking forward to a great semester, and I really am looking forward to getting to know each one of you guys. So be blessed and have a great day.